Competitive shooters are filled with ways to peak one's opponents and, well, pop their melons. From wide swings to stutter steps to so-called quick leans, it's pretty much gotten to the point where the age-old practice of clapping kids around corners has been elevated to not only a science, but an art form.
Oh! Oh my god, that was dirty.
Purple bar. Alright. There's another one there. Yeah. Montage. Montage. Hold on.
You try throwing those flashbangs while he's like this. And he doesn't f***ing miss, bro. He does not f***ing miss.
In Counter-Strike, for instance, the culture of peeking has given way to, well, actual cults. Don't believe me? Just run a quick search in the Steam Groups tab. From the Ferrari peak, to the Zywoo peak, to the Erdogan peak, who, if you don't know, is the current president of Turkey, there is no shortage of ridiculous tags with which these cracked kitties can denote the speed at which they swing. Hell, there's even a freaking Healy peak.
Dead CT. That was an AWP.
Yeah, Crypto, Healy Peak's kind of lit.
You know, it's almost nice.
It's a movement. You know, I'm a part of it.
But there is no peak across the whole of esports that is as feared and fabled as the one that started this trend. The one that belongs to İsmailcan XANTARES Dörtkardeş, the Turkish onliner who spent years solidifying himself as the sickest online-born aimbot ever.
Okay, bro, you're so good, man. Insane.
Yeah.
Let's go. Nice.
City.
Hold it.
God damn.
Valorant.
Do it.
Nice. Should be one of them.
That's the real XANTARES pick right there.
XANTARES picks everything, if you can say like that. Because he's known for it, because he's always clearing everything at, like, in a millisecond.
So how is it that XANTARES emerged from a struggling region to become one of CSGO's most revered aimers? What might his ping have had to do with it? And will he ever truly manage to translate his deific deathmatch-inspired dominance onto LAN?
No hopper, of course, Mr. XANTARES. B. Oh man, only XANTARES can kill me like this.
Okay, so before we wide swing straight into things, please do your boy a favor and like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't get XANTARES peaked by any future episodes of Offbeat. Now, if you've somehow never heard of XANTARES, you obviously haven't been following CSGO very closely. He's made himself a household name over the years by way of his pornographic flicks, his clean-ass haircuts, and of course, his nearsightedness.
We are measuring the distance between XANTARES' head and his monitor. Moses' head, a rooster,
So weird.
the barrel of a desert eagle, none of the above, or all of the above. All of you guys are wrong. The answer is Moses' head because it was 17.8 centimeters.
But what XANTARES is really known for are his peaks and the conditions that shape them. You see, once upon a time, XANTARES was a founding member of Space Soldiers, a largely unknown up-and-coming Turkish side that stormed onto the scene way back in 2015. Now, from the get-go, it was clear that their explosive entry fragger was a cut above.
Ay, yakın çok yakın da. Çıktı mı? Sorry.
Thanks.
A girdi. Palas bakıyor. Helal lan. Vay, makina la.
Soon to face 3 of the terrorists. He gets the first one. Gets the second one. Gets the third one. Massive play from XANTARES.
The hesitation from Asilian there actually gets freeze killed.
Oh, that's the ace of the net. There we go. XANTARES.
By 2017, XANTARES had really begun to cement himself as not only one of his region's most explosive up-and-comers, but an onliner for the ages. whether he was dropping jaws on stream or tearing it up in officials, it quickly became apparent that this kid was cracked.
One was already, watch out.
Backside.
XANTARES as a player, he has really, really, really good aim. You're not gonna see him off-peak an angle or something like that. He's gonna peak the angle correctly like every time because he's used to it, you know?
Bayali, he thinks it's safe. It's not safe. XANTARES opening things up, and here come all the grenades. The balconies smoked as well. Neo can't get down fast enough. Has on his own. Doesn't really have to. Oh, what is that? XANTARES, are you serious? He's got 4 kills. Can he get the ace? That's gross.
The issue, of course, was that thanks to how far east Turkey is situated, space soldiers struggled to scrim, and as a result, consistently sharpened their skills against the rest of Europe. Both because they hailed from an underdeveloped region, and because of every FPS enthusiast's worst nightmare: ping. Okay, so quick lesson. Network latency is the time it takes for one's computer to communicate with a server. And when it's bad, it can result in rubber banding, desync, and noticeable delays in hit detection. And as anyone who's ever been wide swung by a Brazilian with a P90 can attest, it's a huge deal in tactical FPS. I won't get into the nitty-gritty of it all since, well, I don't actually know how any of it works. But what you need to know is that low ping is good, since it means that your inputs are being registered within the server shortly after actuation. While high ping, on the other hand, is bad, since there's basically this chronic delay between when initiating an action and the moment that it registers within the server. That network latency is what we all know as lag. So if you do have high ping, you're not going to want to hold angles or make slow methodical peaks. No, what you're going to want to do is play very aggressively, since it'll give you and your opponent the illusion that you're outpacing the server. In other words, play fast, pre-fire, and wide swing everything.
Dude, I literally have 106 MS. I'm playing from Europe now. I'm just thinking about it. What?
One more found.
How the f is that guy?
As for XANTARES, well, he took this shit to a whole other level.
Gonna see if they can allow XANTARES to get the opening kill. Oh, of course he can. It's XANTARES 1 and 2 as he cracks both of their skulls open, taking down RPK and XMS. Happy as well. Lying in wait for XANTARES is hunting him like the hunter he is. Still so much damage, XANTARES. It's a quad kill for him.
Suffice it to say, XANTARES was pretty much cementing himself as the raid boss of onliners. While others had merely adopted bad ping, XANTARES was born in it, molded by it.
We have both. Nice.
Çok karışıyordun. Less steps from
Russia city.
Side. One side. City dead. Nice.
By 2018, space soldiers were starting to make a name for themselves internationally. They'd qualified for the E-League Major in Boston, and XANTARES' stock as a world-class wide swinger was really starting to rise. Having been shaped by his subpar playing conditions, XANTARES took to honing his mechanics like no other. He knew that if he was going to come out ahead against Europe's best, he'd need to be incomprehensibly crispy. So, he deathmatched. A lot. And holy f*** did it show.
Watching. Boom. Up, one up.
When you seeing how XANTARES is actually playing, you can understand that he's playing a lot of deathmatch. Because his strafes, his white picks, is everything from this deathmatch.
And it was through that constant, incessant DMing that the now famous XANTARES peak was born.
The style of peeking I'm thinking of when I think of the XANTARES peek is close to the wall, and you kind of overswing the angle your opponent is holding. It really goes against most of the fundamentals of peeking, where typically you're trying to be as far away from the wall as possible because that's the way geometry works, right? But with the XANTARES peek, usually it works extremely well in scenarios where you already know where your opponent is because you over-peek their angle, they try to adjust, and you already kill them before they do.
Now, it's one thing to audaciously shit on sweaty scrubs with a deathmatch-inspired approach. The crazy thing about XANTARES is that even the best players in the world weren't safe from his peaks.
Mr. XANTARES.
I think that he's been helping him get him to the level that he is right now because of how many hours he put in deathmatch, because he's like always, XANTARES speaks everything, if you can say like that, because he's known for it, because he's always clearing everything at like in a millisecond.
Nice try.
Of course, XANTARES just streams.
Now, unfortunately, as exciting and explosive as XANTARES' inhuman peaks were, Space Soldiers just couldn't capitalize on them. For pretty much a whole year, their Cinderella-esque journeys at Tier 1 tournaments inspired hope and hype, only to end in disappointment. So, at the end of 2018, after months of suffering and some contract disputes, XANTARES parted ways with Space Soldiers and did the thing that made the most sense. Go to Germany, join big, and shit on people using an actual internet connection.
Bunun öncesinde bana bayağı bir teklif geldi. Benim bilgi seçimi düşüncem tamamen şeyle alakalı. Çok fazla bir ailevi ortam gördüm. Benim de böyle bir şeye ihtiyacım vardı. Ve takımdaki oyuncuların hepsi başarıya çok fazla açlar. Ve benim de istediğim şey buydu. O yüzden tamamen gelme kararını bu şekilde verdim.
Needless to say, this transition only made XANTARES nastier. And over the course of 2019, he continued to cement himself as one of the godliest talents in Counter-Strike.
Up fights. If he wins these first two, that's big one. He gets the second. X7 goes down as well. XANTARES, now you see why they picked him up. That's a great sequence, and he has recovered in this round. I don't think he'll expect that third player to be so far back, but he is looking in this direction, and he's got that as well.
He kills you when you come up in a one-on-one situation. Like, there's little few times you actually kill him because how crisp his aim on it in it. It's just more, you need to fool him in different situations to get him off his aim or off angle in that situation, you know? Because he's gonna clear so many different angles in a millisecond.
What can Big do to stop them? They're gonna buy up as much as they can. As I think Gobby dropped an M4 for XANTARES, so really just scraping the bottom of the barrel there to see whatever they can find. Gobby's been the sacrifice.
So it'll be interesting if he's got to try and put out the spray. Tizia's doing the best he can, finally getting there. Okay, XANTARES, 2 headshots, very fast indeed. How could I ever doubt the man? Glimmy taking some damage. Very high and exposed to a number of players. XANTARES deleting everybody on the A-bomb site.
The question, of course, wasn't whether he'd be good on LAN, since he was. There was no doubt about that. The question was how good. You see, spurts of brilliance aside, Big had this bad habit of remaining all too average when it mattered most. Even though the consensus was that XANTARES might honestly be the single greatest onliner that CSGO had ever seen, people were wondering whether he'd ever be anything more.
Of course, he saw the open, he will repeat. Just repeat like this at the major, XANTARES. XANTARES.
And with COVID forcing all Counter-Strike competition online in 2020, that skepticism only became more pronounced.
Yeah, XANTARES, if he does this at LAN, man, come on. When he does this...
What it also did was send Big straight to the moon. It turns out that if you take the game's most fragalicious FPLer, slap him in a server, and make it so that that's where the trophies are, he's gonna shit on you. Kinda hard.
He wants to get opt. Oh, but he won't, my god. That's a XANTARES, that's insane. Jesus.
Pretty much as soon as the game's so-called online era was underway, Big secured themselves a slew of sorely needed championships.
Is ready to come through Con. Hunter needs a stand, and he gets dropped immediately. Tizian shutting down Nexa, looking to follow up, and it's all onto Kenny. He takes down the first, but that is it. Big, they take the series, they take the final.
Now rely on Marky to come up big, out into the open, and Keto sends them packing. Big take the victory.
It was also around this time that XANTARES' signature preposterous peak really started to explode, spawning a myriad of other equally demonic profile tags in obvious tribute to the Turkish phenom.
What the f***? You see him?
Memes aside, it's hard to say with certainty whether XANTARES will ever become LANTARES, i.e. that top 5 player that he so clearly could be. But what can be said with near certainty is that the silverware he's amassed over the course of CSGO's online blip should afford him the confidence he needs to get there.
Der Skylar Jan ist, man kann ihn immer alleine lassen. Er braucht auch kein Equipment, der braucht einfach eine AK und am besten eine gute Off-Angle-Pose und der destroyt eigentlich jeden. Ja.
EG going back to B, we've got this cat fate coming through for Breezy, leaving only XANTARES B, and with them killing Keto, they know they got rid of the B AWPer there. There's no way that Searson's on that side of the map right now, so Temptation Station, XANTARES in position, using his entire mag. That lets him in now on the reload. Double molly, he can't move anywhere, but he can line them up and knock them down. Double headshot, make it 3. XANTARES in B, doing it all.
XANTARES is truly a wonder of the Counter-Strike world, and the day that he's able to wide swing on LAN the way he does online, it'll be a sight to see. Or, you know, not see, because we'll all be dying to his elbow, and we'll all be
Про него должно быть понимание. XANTARES выходит, попадает по голове Флиту, попадает второму по голове. Ялмазер остается в соло, ставит бомбу. Окей, ну что делать дальше? XANTARES!
3 headshot. I so wish I could get my shirt in here. I have this nice little CSGO shirt on. Yeah. Boosting to get the cookie jar. Shout out to BTS. It's BTS merch. XANTARES was born in it, molded by it. Molded by it. Others had merely adopted bad ping. XANTARES was born in it, molded by it.